All right, welcome back everyone to another episode of the Health Made Simple show. I'm here with our host, Dr. Bart Precourt, who has been a healthcare practitioner for over 20 years, practicing a range of modalities, including chiropractic, kinesiology, acupuncture, functional nutrition, and lab testing, and supplementation, all out of his Clinic Balance Health Studio in Seagrove Beach, Florida, as well as virtually all over the world. He's also the founder of the Health Edge program, which is a cutting-edge health program for entrepreneurs and executives wanting to take their health to the next level. So he's also worked with athletes and celebrities all around the world. And tonight we're going to answer some questions. We got a bunch of new questions sent in, which is always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, a lot of good questions. Thank you everyone for keep sending them and keep doing any way, shape, or form you can send them in. We literally pick up questions like email, my Facebook, my Instagram, they're emailed to the office. So if you send them and for some reason we miss them, we apologize. But for the most part, if you send them, we try to get, rally them together. Then I take them and try to get them to Karen. And of course, if you're here tonight and you have live questions, if you're here on Zoom, welcome, of course. You can literally just put in the comments a question you may or may not have. Doesn't even have to be about any current topic that we're talking about. It could just be anything that serves you. And then if you're on Facebook, of course, just I guess same thing. Put it in the comments, make a comment, and we'll do our best answering it here.
Awesome. Yes. All right. Well, look, let's get started with Roxanne, who's on Zoom here with us. She has COVID now. It's been a week and she's not getting any better. Any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, our prayers are with you, just like anyone who's not feeling well. And that's, I think one of them, I'm going to go through a couple of things here. And thanks for sharing and thanks for being here tonight, even though you're probably not feeling at your best. It's awesome. So let's roll through a couple of things. One, biggest emphasis here is rest. Karen, is one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is that they just be like, oh, I'm feeling a little better, or I thought I would just walk it off. No. Go to bed. Your body is in a battle against a virus, and which means there's bad guys in your body, and they're trying to beat up your good guys, and they're fighting, and some of them win, some of them lose. Ultimately, you will win. And so, but it takes a lot of energy to do that. And the more energy we can conserve to fight that battle, the quicker you win. So that's number one. Make sure that you're getting plenty of rest, even if that means you're in bed 20 hours a day. Like that's okay. Back, it's been a little over a year, I think, when I had COVID. There was like 2 or 3 days in a row, Karen, that I was 20 hours a day. 20 hours a day.
You were just in bed because she's got here. People are telling her to keep moving.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. Listen, there's a time and a place for that. But when your white blood cells need to respond to something, remember, we don't heal when we're awake. We heal. Yeah. And this is just a fundamental immunology, immune 101. Like you got to do one of two things. You got to use energy on your current task or use energy to fight within your body. And that's what you want to do right now. So do not move, lie down, make sure now we're going to make sure we conserve energy too on what comes into your body. So let me roll through some supplements that you're probably already taking, because I know you're here often. Your vitamin C is the one that I want you to really bump up. And so I haven't said it like this here before, but this is what I'm doing clinically now. And again, time helps us here. So with each and every month, we're just getting better and better with our protocols when it comes to COVID. So I want you to take about, if you're using Allerplex C, which is the one I usually recommend from Standard Process because it's the whole food, it's that full enzyme. I want you to take 3 every other hour. So you'll take about 15 through the course of the day. Okay. And we're going to do that because vitamin C, when we're utilizing it, just about every time you urinate, you almost go back to zero. And we want this vitamin C very, very active and available in the human body, especially when we're under assault. So this is an important part. And I think this is a real big, little sidetrack here. What happened for a lot of people that have long haulers, they get so depleted in their vitamin C that they end up with an adrenal issue on top of a viral issue. So, and that's part of it here. So let's make sure we're supporting the adrenal glands, lots and lots of vitamin C. Vitamin D, somewhere between 5 and 10,000 IUs a day. We're just going to be steady Freddy with that. And then the zinc, same thing, about 60 milligrams a day. That's a little bit higher than I normally recommend. Normally you just be between 20 and 30. So we're going to double down on that. So here's two other therapies that I haven't done myself, but I have a lot of clients do, and I'm leaning in the direction of saying that this is a good thing. Let me back up. There's another supplement, Karen. They'll probably need.
What is the D called actually?
It's called Allerplex D.
It's Cataplex. Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
So that, because again, it's whole food, it's not going to be measured exactly in IUs there, but they're going to take 4 twice a day if you guys Cataplex D. The zinc will be 3 twice a day, and that would give her about 60 milligrams. And then there's another one that's really effective. I haven't talked a lot about it on the show here, but it's called Rna. And like it sounds, it's designed for viruses. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
Karen, in this scenario, may need that code that we talk about every now and then. So may need to email our office and just say, Dr. Bart Podcast, and we'll send you the code. And then you can order directly. So there's certain ones that you need to get from a doctor. But it's called Viranon. If you have access, if I've already given you access, awesome. And you take 2 of those 3 times a day. And that's very specifically for viruses. One of the key elements there is something called thuja, and the other is St. John's wort. Both of them are phenomenal. Long-term studies on them, absolutely phenomenal. I am a fan of people using the ivermectin in the early phase. We've seen so many reports. And again, I can't speak from firsthand knowledge because I haven't used it myself and I can't prescribe it. It's medication. But we've seen so many good results. And again, just like I'm not anti-vax, I'm not anti-medicine, I'm not anti-science. If something works and helps save lives and makes it better, let's roll with it. Ivermectin's been around forever. It is not just a horse pill. Do they use it in veterinary medicine? Yes, they do. Are they used in human medicine? Yes, they do. Ivermectin can be very, very effective, especially in the front end of things to keeping the inflammatory markers down. And then here in the beautiful state, the blessed state of Florida that we live in, and I know other states as well, you can get free access to monoclonal antibodies. This is worthy of moving your butt down to Florida if you don't live here for.
She's in Canada.
Okay. So, all right. So that's not an option. So I'm going to give you another option. The other option is going to be using an herb. We talk a lot about it on this show, is Andrographis.
Yeah. Okay.
Andrographis, that herb itself, Andrographis. And so this Andrographis complex, 2 of them, 4 times a day. And if you're doing that protocol that I was talking about, vitamin C, vitamin D, the zinc, the Andrographis, you're staying hydrated, you're resting. And then you'll be able to wait this out. And if you have access to ivermectin, fantastic. If anyone here in the States or in the state of Florida, early action, don't wait and see, like especially here in Florida. If you're here in Florida, you have access to what's called monoclonal antibodies. They are free, FREE, free. And again, I don't prescribe drugs, and I'm not against them. In this scenario, they're working amazing. Someone asked me today, hey, doc, you seen anyone with any side effects to the monoclonal antibodies? My answer is no, I just haven't seen it. And I have.
So what exactly is that? What are they?
It's called Regeneron. It is something that we talked about here in our states by our former president, literally 18 months ago. And it took a lot of slack for that and hydrochloroquine. And it's just a great option, hon. It's, there's some places they do it in IV. But here locally, they're doing it via just in 4 different injections. And it's real simple, real easy. And again, all the things we're talking about are still important because you still have to have a robust white blood cell system. So a little bit of everything. And right now we're seeing the people that are doing these different things collectively, Karen, like 100 out of 100 people are doing good.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. As time goes, and I've said this from day one, we're just going to continue to learn strategies, and we're going to continue to level these strategies up. So I feel really confident now that, if we put everything aside and don't get our emotions in the way, and if someone said, hey, doc, what are the best things I can do? This is what I tell you to do. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, Viranon, Andrographis, get your antibodies, get ivermectin, write it down, stay low. And then you don't go out until the big thing that gets in the way here is our mind. We're like, well, I think I'm doing better and I'm bored. I've been sitting on the couch for 4 days. I got to get outside. No, wait until your body's begging you. conversation I have often. So you're in our prayers, my dear. I feel confident you'll get through this. If you've already made it through several days, and listen, if there is, let's just say one other thing. If you're having some breathing complications, send us an email. There are some other supplements that I'd go a little deeper. So then depending on other symptoms that it might cause, there's something I use called Neurotrophin Pmg and some other things that could be for the lung field. But if that's not the case, no big deal. But if you have some other symptoms, just email us. We'll be happy to provide you with that protocol.
And what about appetite? Should she worry if she can't eat at all?
Not at all. No, listen to the innate wisdom. Listen, our bodies are so amazing, so incredibly amazing. You know, so this is just a good example. Yesterday, my dog Daryl, he wasn't having a good day. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to eat. And for this,
he had the ACL. Is this Daryl?
That's Jimmy.
Oh, sorry.
Jimmy is full 100% back as if it never happened. Yeah. Okay. Which is beautiful. So Daryl just had a bad day, just wasn't feeling good, didn't want to eat, didn't have an appetite or anything. And my wife's like, and my wife's the one who, like, believe it or not, she's the one who cares for the dogs the most here. Like, she is the doctor of the house when it comes to the dogs. Until sometimes it gets a little like something's wrong, and then the doctor steps in a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's just this weird thing. But she does most of the tending to the dogs here. And it was just a reminder for us both. Like, and I said, listen, he's not hungry. We are not going to force, and we're just going to listen and watch what happens. 24 hours went by. His appetite came by. She was just saying how happy she was because he's like playing again. Yeah. So we have to trust the human body. We have to trust this wisdom. That is part of being superhuman. Yeah. So let's stop out thinking all of it. And when we're tired, go to bed. When we're not hungry, don't eat. Probably have to stay hydrated. If you feel like you're getting a headache and your throat is dry, you probably need some electrolytes and get something to drink. But again, your body is so intelligent. It knows this whole fasting thing, this thing that I try to talk about all the time, your body is mimicking that right now. Yeah. It's fasting, it's autophagy. It is speeding up. Autophagy means to kill the cell, your own cells. It is speeding up this process so it can kill off the bad guys and the strong survive. So and that's where the fever comes from. So all of that may not be comfortable, but that innate wisdom that we have, unmatchable. No matter how smart I think I am or any one of us thinks, that wisdom right there, that innate wisdom that we're all born with, if we can tap into that, that's superhuman right there.
Yeah, love it. So true. Follow up to that, what about using, is it quercetin? Quercetin? Yeah.
Quercetin, again, very beneficial. It can help. Really, quercetin here is going to help bring the zinc into the cell. It's not like one of my priorities. It's effective. And one of the reasons it's effective is because so many people are deficient in hydrochloric acid. So some people will actually have a hard time breaking down zinc, or they say, man, I take the zinc and it bothers my gut. It's because of our gut acids are weak. They're wimpy. They've been beat down. So quercetin for a lot of us it's just one more strategy that's beneficial of getting that zinc into the cell. So and remember, zinc is really what's going to bind to the virus and reduce the viral impact, or really the viral load.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks for that. Hopefully, as we said, we're all thinking of you, Roxanne. So let us know how you're going and get in touch with the office if you need more, right? If she's got any other questions and things. Okay. Next question here. Hiatal hernia advice. Advanced to where my food gets stuck. Can surgery be avoided?
So in a hiatal hernia, just so the audience understand, right at the bottom of the esophagus is like you have this hiatus, and it should close, or it should really actually be down. I don't know if people are viewing this or not. Sometimes it kind of inverts and it gets stuck open. And that hernia right there, and that it can keep food going up, like it's supposed to close up on us. So a couple things. One, you can actually, if you have a chiropractor nearby, I don't know if you're near my office or something like that, you can manually try to reduce the amount of the hernia by getting up in there. It's not real comfortable, but very doable. And you release some of the muscles in there, the diaphragm muscle, you can get in there and kind of manipulate it back down. And then simultaneously making sure that you're you're doing the right things nutritionally. So you're not provoking this situation in your gut that's making it kind of get weak. I would say this, I don't know your particular scenario yet. Most of the times we're able to avoid a surgery. I would say the majority of the time. Oddly enough, one of the things that often will end up being part of the protocol will be bringing more hydrochloric acid back into your life, even though this is the thing you think you cannot have. But by strengthening the stomach acids, that flap gets a break. It doesn't have to work as hard. So I would suggest if you are local, I would be glad to help you. You might want to reach out. That'd be an in-office appointment that we'd want to do. If not, check in your area. And there's a lot of chiropractors out there. You probably want to check out someone who does kinesiology and see if they have some experience in working with people with hiatal hernias.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Let's do the next question. What is the best remedy for allergies?
Well, allergies are, that's kind of big. It's a broad scope. So let's take it from nutrition on down. Nutritionally, so what we best approach for allergies. One, you got to start with nutrition. This is coming from a guy that was allergic to everything.
And are they different? Is there going to be different things for different types of allergies? Like, is this seasonal allergies?
Yeah. So when we get into the supplement part of it, Karen, there's definitely like different strategies there and really what's going on a day-to-day basis. And I'll cover that in just a moment. But the first part of it, the diet part is kind of broad scoping. When we eat inflammatory foods, we're going to have we have an inflammatory response, but we interpret that as an allergic response. That means puffiness, sinusy, watery eyes, stuff that you can create ear infections due to gluten, due to sugar and that kind of stuff, due to dairy. So that was me growing up. Like that was me. I had allergies to everything. And really what happens, the inflammation inhibits the white blood cell response. So now you become vulnerable and then you have these hyper responses, kind of like this whole spike protein type thing. It's similar, just on a lesser scale. So you develop allergies because you become weaker. And this is very, very important to understand because again, if 10 people are outside and you're the one that's like coughing and sneezing, why aren't the other 9 doing it? And it's because the system isn't prepared. And that's been my challenge over the years is my immune system, especially with allergies. So a couple key things here. Bitter foods are the best. Bitters are like the opposite so when we think about this, sweet, sour, salty, bitter. Bitter and sweet are kind of the polar opposites. If you like sweets, you don't like bitters. So so you want to start to bring bitters into your life. Arugula salad, fantastic. Ginger, anything, apple cider vinegar, all these bitters are really provoking the bitter receptors that are on your cells. And that's one of the ways that they start to activate things like your white blood cells. So that's one of the ways to start to build up the immune system. Of course, you definitely want to reduce the amount of sugar and carbohydrates. Gluten's got to go because these mimic allergies. A lot of the times, Karen, I clean up diet and almost immediately like, oh, my allergies went away. Well, your inflammatory process went away is what takes place. So, but there are a couple of supplements, and that's probably where this question was going to go. There's 2 that I really hang my hat on that I think are absolutely awesome. There's 3. One's going to surprise you. One, we've already talked about it tonight, and that's Zypan. It's a digestive enzyme. Zypan, your acid in your gut is so linked to allergies. I can't express enough how important it is to make sure you have strong hydrochloric acid, a really low pH in your gut. So there's a link also to people who are on like Prilosec and all those other antacid type things that they tend to have more allergies because their gut isn't breaking anything down. So first part of your immune system, first part of allergies really starts in your gut. The 2 supplements I love the most. The one is called Allerplex. The name kind of says it all. It's a absolutely brilliant product. I often talk about standard process, and one of the reasons I love it as a clinician because it's not just like oh, vitamin C is really good for you, so take a ton of it. They really think about the formulas that work synergistically with human function, with the, the systems, the organs, and the glands. And this Allerplex is one of those products. So for example, there's a couple different things. There's one called Neurotrophin Pmg in this, and that is the protomorphogen for the lung field. Because remember, what's taking stuff in? If you have allergies, you're breathing it in. So you want to make the lungs stronger. One of the probably most underestimated, overlooked part of the immune system and part of your allergies is your adrenal glands. So there's Neurotrophin Pmg, which is one of our adrenal products within that product. There's something called Antronex. Antronex is a big winner here because that's the one, it's really a beef liver extract that helps your sinuses drain. It kind of works as a natural antihistamine, even though it doesn't stop the histamine response, because that is part of the immune system. So remember, histamine, although we don't like it, it is part of your immune system. So we're not trying to shut it off. We're trying to facilitate that process. And we do that by draining the liver. So that product right there, Allerplex, and especially you mentioned seasonal allergies, one of the absolute best for literally building up your immune system so you can fight season in and season out. And if you have seasonal allergies, you have an immune deficiency. It's not just the pollen. And we overlook it because we've never been taught about that. But if you have seasonal allergies, you have an immune deficiency, and year on year is probably getting worse. So
people just think they have it, right? It's something I have, I'm always going to have, don't really link it to anything that they can do.
Yeah, and it's one of the spots in my own personal health. I battled with allergies so much in my life, and not to have them now, it is, I feel good about it. Like I'm like, yeah, this is what clean living pays off to do. Like it's need to put all these the efforts in. So Allerplex is a phenomenal one, and that is, think of vitamins and minerals and the protomorphogens. That's in one level, and then the other one, because if we could match it with an herbal component. Feed the system, drive the system. The herbals are going to drive it. I use something called Sinus Forte, I believe it's called. Yeah, Sinus Forte.
Yeah.
And another absolutely brilliant product of herb concoctions that are synergistic herbs that come together. What's in there? Eyebright, which is, again, Eyebright is an amazing one. You don't think of it much, you barely even hear, but Eyebright is in some of the best allergy formulas out there when it comes to sinuses and watery eyes and the irritation that happens there. Eyebright's phenomenal. Then there's something called Goldenrod and Golden Seal and Little Echinacea. And again, just an absolutely brilliant product. So not only is it helping your symptoms, but it's, especially with the Echinacea, we are boosting the white blood cell response. And then you most likely, if you've been watching this for a couple of weeks, you heard me a little while ago talk about this, the Delta variant and how it attacks the mucosal lining. So, and I wish I could raise hands right now. I'm like, who remembers what herb I told you to take for that? And it's seal. So when it comes to allergies, we want to enhance the mucosal lining in our nasal passages and in our esophagus, in our throat.
Sorry, say what that was again.
Yeah. So for the Delta, throat spray.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But in this product called Sinus Forte, that, again, that's why it's such a brilliant, brilliant product. It has the Golden Seal, it has Goldenrod, it has Echinacea and Eyebright. So, and if you put those two together, you really have an arsenal. Like, I don't know that you could do much better, because you're probably talking about 9 or 10 different elements there that are all very, very specific to either building or defending, which is great, or activating, which is great. And then, of course, you got to get the diet cleaned up, and sleep. Sleep is an important part. Remember, you activate your white blood cells when you sleep. If you're just waking up stuffy every morning, that's just an Antronex issue. That's just, help drainage, and that's usually just change your diet, change your food. One last thing I guess I would say to this, Karen, is that in the event that you are doing a lot of good things, like your diet's pretty clean, you're fasting, you're a low carb person, and you're still getting allergy type symptoms or stuffed up, that would probably be a good time to consider a food sensitivity test. And I did, and I did say, as long as you're already doing some of those things, I'm not a huge fan of food sensitivity tests if your diet isn't too clean. But if you're doing a pretty good job and your diet's relatively clean and you're still getting a lot of allergies, food sensitivity can be an effective way to just narrow things down, and keep building that strategy, where we're all trying to move toward that superhuman status, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's one of those little key links that can help you get there.
And if they want to order one of those, they can get in touch with the office?
Of course, easy breezy. We literally can send it to you. Beauty is it's an at-home test. So it's one of those functional nutrition tests that we can send it to you. It usually takes them a little while. It usually takes them about 7 or 8 days before we get the results. But nonetheless, you get a easy to read out, and it breaks it down in your like a red, orange, and yellow. And then it also like your super sensitivities. Then you get to see the categories. So you'll see like your shellfish categories, like how many, even if it's low lying, how many, like, are you sensitive to many of them, which is helpful because then you might just say, almost intuitively say, man, shellfish don't work good for me. And now you may know. And now it gives you reason to just, order something different when you're out eating.
Yeah. Awesome. And then if they want to follow up from that, they can just see you on Zoom, right? They don't have to be local.
Of course. Yeah. So literally anyone watching tonight, you can order that test. We can send it to you, or you could have labs you could send them to. We can send any lab to you. And then once we get the results, our office reaches out, and then we sit down just like this. We do a Zoom, we cover A to Z, find out literally. And my favorite thing is always just find out what do we got to knock out so we can get into a superhuman strategy. And then, and maybe there's nothing we have to, like overcome, and we can just get down to it.
Maybe. Follow up to that, can mold be related to allergy symptoms?
Yeah. I don't know that it shows up in the same. The mold's going to end up having, like fatigue is always a big one there.
Yeah.
And we've talked about mold here before. It's always going to affect the gut as well. So we're going to see a lot of other additional symptoms when it comes to mold and funguses. Yeah, it could definitely mimic some of the allergies. When I think of allergies, though, I think like you're doing okay now, and then like 8 hours later, you're stuffed up and you're sneezing often, and there's something is affecting. You think it's pollen, you think it's a dog, you think it's the season, whatever it may be. That's kind of what I think about allergies more so.
Yeah, whereas mold will, you'll continue to be affected.
Correct. It's going to be relentless. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, awesome. Next question. How can I heal a stomach ulcer?
Oh, great question, Karen.
Can we heal a stomach ulcer?
Yes, and it's very important that this is done properly.
Okay.
This actually in clinic today in clinic. These are so important. So it is not okay to get diagnosed with stomach ulcer and be like, yeah, I took some Pepto-Bismol, I did something, and basically it's coating that lining. And I want to explain to you why. If you have a stomach ulcer, you have an open wound inside your gut. So it's almost like you have a cut on your arm, and then every time you eat, you're sloughing the scab off little bit by little bit. There are a lot of medications out there that they use if you get diagnosed with a stomach ulcer. And there's different, like they can do ultrasounds, there's different tests. You don't need all those. Sometimes you just need to eat, have a lot of pain, and that's pretty much a stomach ulcer. Because you're sloughing, you're like open every time. So there are medications out there that will kind of soothe and coat it, and it will coat the entire stomach lining. And the challenge is now you don't absorb nutrients. Yeah. And that's the part that's not okay. So you need nutrients to heal the body. So there is a great remedy. We've been using it for years, and it's called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is literally like plant blood, and it heals everything. It's absolutely fantastic. So with that being said, if you have a stomach ulcer, it's kind of this is what I'm gonna recommend that you do. You don't have to do it this way. You're just gonna get better results. So we can use chlorophyll in any wound. Like if the dog bites you, you get cut somehow, you burn your classic for burning, you burn yourself cooking, you cover.
Because you've got an ointment as well, don't you?
You can get an ointment, which we might have put that in our home, like our home medicine cabinet. I think I did. Remember a long time ago, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shows we did that home medicine cabinet. It's just something you should have there. It's very stable on the shelf. It'll stay there for almost ever. So it comes in a tube where it's like an ointment, and you can put it on something. Like if something happens to the dogs, they get a cut. If I don't know what to do with it and there's an open wound or something like that, I just put chlorophyll on it. The drawback is this, and my wife, if I don't say this, it will stain everything. Yeah. So
I was going to say.
Yeah, so you just gotta be a little mindful. So here's how, if you have a stomach ulcer, this is what you do. You take 2 of the pearls. You don't get the ointment, get the pearls. They come in these little green pearls, and you bite them, you chew them. We don't even want your stomach needing to even digest the pearl. There's nothing wrong with it. It's 100% digestible, but you don't even want that effort. You want that chlorophyll to get down the esophagus and into the stomach and line the stomach. This chlorophyll is also like a vegetarian whole food multivitamin. It's absolutely phenomenal. Immediately, it'll soothe it. It'll change the pH in your favor about 50%. So that's why it's really good for pain modulation. So even if this is a duodenal ulcer, we're still using it. We're still going to get that, meaning that it's much lower in the intestinal, in the body. So we're going to do that twice a day. First thing when you wake up and last thing before you go to bed. So we're going to coat the lining of that stomach when there's no food coming in there. And real quickly, you're going to recognize how fast the human body can heal.
Yeah, amazing.
The skin on your arm is very similar to the skin in your stomach. Like there's many layers, there's 6 layers there. And if we give it the opportunity and the right nutrients, it'll heal. The flip side of that is if you just coat it, you don't give it the nutrients and you're not actually helping it heal. And at the same time, you're almost in a malnutritious state, bummer wummer. Like that's not where we want to go. So 2 of them.
Not eat around the like if you take it first thing in the morning, do you want to wait before you start eating, or?
For preferably at least an hour.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You can let that in there and let it soak in and change the pH. And when I say change pH, one of the things that gives us pain when we have an open wound is the pH changes. And there's a chemical released by the body. That's very, very painful. And that says, hey, don't do this to me again, right? So if we pack it with, or can soothe it with, or coat it with the chlorophyll, like if you had a cut somewhere, you could literally, or a burn, you could put it on there and it will soothe it almost instantly. So ideally, that's the way you'd use it.
Okay, awesome. We've got a follow-up question here. Does aloe contain chlorophyll?
No, aloe does not. It is soothing, but it won't do the same level of healing. And I've used aloe before, so it soothes. It won't do the healing that I'm talking about.
Okay. All right. Next question. What is the best sleeping posture?
Yeah, I answer this question every day, like 1,000 times a day. So it's interesting. And it's important. It's more important than people think. We know posture is important. So an ideal sleeping posture is flat on your back. Some people say, well, Bart, what's the best pillow I should buy? Well, the no pillow. Like,
that actually better to lay flat with no pillow?
So let's just take for a moment, like for those of you out there that do yoga, you practice the entire yoga practice so you can do what? So you can stillness flat on your. And it's really interesting because people tell me, oh, I can't do it. And I'll be like, do you practice yoga? They're like, yeah. Do you like Shavasana? Oh, I love Shavasana.
Everybody loves Shavasana. Yeah.
But there's a couple things about Shavasana, which is the ending yoga posture. So you practice yoga and then you just sit there flat on your back. Your muscles and your body is really balanced out. You put it under a little duress. You stretch it out, contracted it. You bring it through all different planes and everything's just kind of in a happy place, circulation going everywhere. And then you just lie there. It's very neutral posture. And the other part about it, Karen, that it's really unique about, or interesting, I should say, about Shavasana is that typically it's a very vulnerable position because you're literally wide open. You're just lying on your back. You're not huddled up. Your shoulders aren't, you're not hiding anything. But during yoga, people do it all day long and they love it. But they go home in their own bed and they can't lie that way. And it shows how emotional posture is and how much it says. So in an ideal world, and I could say for both your certainty in life, your confidence, the ability to lie flat on your back is a strong posture, is a strong emotional posture. Your ability to lie flat on your back is a strong physical posture. It's very good for the human body because it's neutral. Now, so there's more to this because not everyone does it. We still have to deal with it. So what'll often happen is I'll just recommend to people, listen, if you lie on your back, lie there for 15 minutes, stare at the ceiling, like, oh my God, this is bad or good, whatever. Make up all the stories you need. And then just roll over and go to bed. Do whatever it takes. But keep introducing it. We want to keep introducing it to the physical body, the physiology, but also to the emotional body. And let it know this is safe. We're going to be okay here. Because it is a bit of a vulnerable position. So you got to build up that, like, kind of that posture mentality, that posture physically. Do a little bit by little bit. Now, if you're going to be a side sleeper, understand this, it's imbalanced. Like if you're always sleeping on your right shoulder, eventually, I hate even saying this, but eventually there's a probability you're going to have a right shoulder problem. Like it is, the shoulder issues that I see are always, not sometimes, they're always on the side that people sleep. They're always on that side. The frozen shoulder is always on the side that people sleep. It's not sometimes, always. So it shows if we do something over and over and over again, we have bad posture, inevitably we may inhibit the function of that. So, and sometimes we just have bad postures. So for example, I've been, standing on the side of a chiropractic table for 25 years.
Yeah.
Over, like not good posture. I do the best that I can. But that is why we develop strategies. That's what superhumans do. Like we develop strategies. So if you're a side sleeper, if you're a chiropractor, if you sit at your desk all day long, bring some yoga in your life. Don't act as if it's not going to happen. So remember, one of the most incredible, markers moving forward is our range of motion. And if you are a side sleeper, you're going to start to lose some range of motion. So ideal world, sleep flat on your back. The two other things I get with this question are what's the best pillow to do? The smallest, the better, right? We don't want to prop it up. We're already in this posture anyways, and that creates a lot of neck tension. It reverses that cervical curve. So we want to, open up the chest, sleep flat on our back the best we can. Small pillow. And then what is the best bed? My favorite, there on our website, which is .com, there's a page there called affiliates. And there's like some companies there that I haven't updated this in years, but nonetheless, there's some companies there that I vetted and I said, these are good dudes or good products or whatever. There's a company there in Telebed or iBed. That's the one we have. We have two in our house. They're absolutely awesome. If you tell them we sent you, I think and you send it that my doctor recommended, I think they don't charge you tax or something like that. I don't know. But nonetheless, they're not cheap, but they're no chemicals, Karen.
Yeah, which is important.
It is. And especially for my, for a lot of my women who are going through perimenopause and stuff, they don't need any more heat. And it's real. So if you get like a Tempur-Pedic, they hold a lot of heat and a lot of chemicals in those beds. So that's the other answer to the question that I get with that. Best sleeping posture, best pillow, best bed. So it's IntelliBed.
Yeah, I put the link in there.
Sleep back, smallest pillows possible.
I love that. And I love what you said about like practicing laying on your back, because I was completely one of those people that was like, I cannot sleep if I'm on my back. I would say it and I was like, I can't sleep if I'm on my back. And I actually I would sleep like on my stomach. Terrible. See your face. That's not good. Anyway, but I did what you said. So I would just even lay, like in the beginning, it was literally like a couple of minutes, because then I'd be so uncomfortable on my back. I was like, and I'd be tired, but I couldn't sleep. And so I'd roll over. Literally, you can just practice and your body just gets used to it. And now I can totally fall asleep on my back. Like one time I was like, I just didn't roll over and I still fell asleep. Like it does. You can actually train your body to do anything as soon as you open to the whole, and maybe I can, as opposed to me being like, I can't sleep on my back was my thought process before I tried it.
Yeah. Perfect. And then, sleeping on your belly. And just again, thanks for re-emphasizing, because a lot of people be like, I tried it last night, it didn't work.
Yeah. No, you got to do a couple more times. You've been sleeping on, well, for me, I'd been sleeping on my stomach for, I don't know, probably 30 years or something, Yeah,
chiropractors, we love it if you sleep on your stomach, because it means you will forever be a patient of ours. Just kidding.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, right. Well, actually, we've got to follow up. I have, what about if you have possible jaw and teeth issues and sleep apnea?
Yeah, so in that scenario, even more so, you got to be on your back. So if you have this kind of what I meant by chiropractors love, I'm joking, obviously, but if you sleep on your stomach, you end up rotating your head. You have to, right? You have to lie with your head turned either face to the left or face to the right. And 50% of your rotation comes from your first cervical, what they call C1, which is literally connected to your jaw. So again, like when people come in, they're like TMJ, I'm like, how do you sleep? They're like, at night. And I'm like, no, what posture to sleep in? And they'll say, oh, I typically sleep either on my side, and they have like, they'll show me the posture, but most of the time it's stomach sleepers.
Yeah.
We'll see a lot of TMJ. So, and again, the sleep apnea, instead of tackling it as much as with your sleeping apparatuses, do with diet. Like, again, we've tackled this before in this show. We're gonna treat that as an inflammatory process. We're gonna go after big time in diet and intermittent fasting, getting blood glucose levels back down, which is a big part of it. And then sleeping on your back will be best. You might need to be propped a little bit in the beginning, but the goal is going to be like, what does it take to be able to sleep comfortably on your back without anything?
Okay, we got a couple of follow-up questions. I have is it Sjogren's disease? And I get dry mouth every morning. I do sleep on my back, but is that limiting saliva covering my mouth?
Okay, I'm going to give you a tip for that. This is going to seem kind of weird. I don't know if I'm going to be able to demonstrate it here in the show, but I'll do my best. So I do want you to get in a habit of activating your parotid glands. Okay. And there is a very specific supplement you can take for that. The parotid glands are saliva glands. And one of the things you can do is you can lightly chew on your tongue. This is good for anyone that's dehydrated. It can be life-saving for some. If you're dehydrated, everyone can do it right now, and just kind of chew on your tongue. If you can kind of roll your tongue up a little bit, and you chew on it, try to do both sides, you will activate saliva.
Okay, yeah.
If you do that, it's a great way to get things rolling here. So even with the Sjogren's, and I think what you're saying is you wake up, and as a result of being on your back, it ends up very dry.
Having a really dry mouth, yeah.
Yeah, so do that before you go to bed. Activate the saliva, not just water. There's a little bit of a different impact on your body there. See if you can activate the parotid glands, and then you can also sometimes massage up underneath the jawline on the inside. It's a little uncomfortable to do that, but to activate it that way as well.
Okay. Cool. And then what about if you snore only on your back?
I don't care.
No.
No. We're gonna treat snoring in the same thing as like like a CPAP and all that. Treat it as an inflammatory issue. Really work that out. Do the absolute best that you can, because you didn't snore all your life. At some point it started, and most likely came with less activity, less cardiovascular health, more inflammation. So these are the things that, like, no one really wants to hear them, but that's how they come about. And and if you can improve that by doing it properly, that's really the goal here. So, and I say jokingly, I don't care, because that's what I say in my office all the time to my, my spouses and whatnot. And they'll say, well, my husband snores, so I make him roll over. I don't care. Like, I don't care if he snores, and I get it. Yeah. I guess my point there is that we want to make sure that we're not like compensating, one not so good, habit because of another not so good habit. Yeah. So let's get to the root cause the best that we can. And again, if it's a snoring issue, it's an inflammatory issue, and go after that one hardcore.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. Let's move on to the next question. So I have an 11-year-old male family member that suffered from multiple seizures from the time he was born, which has delayed brain development. So he's in a wheelchair, unable to verbally communicate, but does understand when people speak to him. What are safe supplements for him to take with him being a child?
Yeah. So, well, I'm loving that you're asking this question, because there are things you can do. And even though if you run into, and especially at 11 years old, that body right there is not fully developed and has an amazing opportunity down the road. So please do not give up. And it sounds like you're not. So the couple things here. One, the good news is that anything you hear me talk about on this show, especially if you hear me talk about standard process or MediHerb, they're whole food supplements. So other than a little bit of dosing, if and the weight of the human is the only difference in a dosing, and so they're all safe. I think that's going to be my point there. Now, what do we want to do? We got to think brain health, and especially if there's been a little brain trauma or damage there. So there's a couple things I use here. So An ideal world, this is, again, I'm not treating anything here. Again, I'm not acting as your doctor, but for brain health, or especially if there's been a trauma, there's a couple of things we want to do when it comes to helping that tissue organ gland. Number one is Neurotrophin Pmg. This is the only company in the world that makes this product. I use it for every concussion case, every brain trauma that I have. It's an absolute must. This is going to help the brain, because unfortunately with the brain, once it's damaged, it has a hard time shutting off the inflammatory process. That's why there's such a big issue about like the dangers of concussions and stuff. So Neurotrophin Pmg, ideally you take 2 before bed on an empty stomach and 2 in the morning. And that's going to help and that's going to be a steady Freddy. There's also something called Neuroplex. Neuroplex is something that's going to help the brain and the nervous system really start to coordinate together. In brain trauma, that's what has happened. It's not coordinating anymore. The brain is such an amazing, organ that it has capacity, but we have to give it an opportunity to do its job. I would also make sure that the little guy is getting a plentiful amount of omega-3s. In this scenario, I would probably use something, cod liver is amazing, and I would probably use something called Olprima, Olprima, Olprima DHA. You'll find this on the website. If they're about 100 pounds, and I wouldn't go lightly, I'd be trying to get, I don't know the exact dosing on each pearl there, Karen, but they come in pearls, and this is an omega-3. I would do a minimum of 2,500 milligrams per day. The brain tissue is made up of 50% DHA. So hopefully, and if that's not a protocol you'll be doing, then there's a lot of good opportunities ahead of you. So those 3 things, minimal. The 4th one that I would add here is RNA, ribonucleic acid. Ribonucleic acid works for a lot of reasons. Like it really helps the pituitary gland, especially for growth hormone and helping the body grow, which in this scenario is probably going to be important. Most likely, if there's been a brain trauma, it can inhibit growth and a lot of other factors as well. But this ribonucleic acid, super, super helpful for everything like in everyday use, for like if we were forgetting words or forgetting names, we're forgetting like people that we know, ribonucleic is awesome. It feeds the cerebellum. So these 4 things, I think 4 that I just mentioned, would be a phenomenal place to start. And again, if you have more questions, you can reach out to us or reach out to someone that has dealt with people, the football players, the people that have had traumas, the car accidents, that, they're dealing with some of that neurotrauma. And think of it as like any other system, organ, or gland, it's got to get reset. And at some point, and the reason I say there's a little bit more to it, at some point, I would absolutely want to do some work where we're helping that HP axis, the hypothalamus pituitary gland. That is it's really the brain. It's the mother of all the hormones, but also the gut brain connection. And those are the things we got to get those back online. So we got to kind of reset those. So that would be my approach. A ton of love, make sure that you're, and the outlook needs to be, and understand we have more science and data now that we've ever had. And it's moving us in a direction to be able to do things that in the past, we didn't know how to. And again, that's why time is so favorable to us when we get to use time on our side. So again, be glad to help if you want to reach out, or just what I just said, that it's a great place to start.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Next question. What should my vitamin D levels be at?
Vitamin D levels, ideally, especially in the era that we're at now, are not what's normally recommended. Like if you Google this right now, Karen, and say, what should optimal levels of vitamin D, they'll have it as low as like 30 nanograms. And that's not okay. That we've seen that is not sufficient in terms of a robust, optimally functional, immune system. So I like to see them between 50 and 100, especially right now. We're in a pandemic, and we know that 85%, I'm going to repeat this, 85% of the people that they've done the autopsies on that passed away from COVID had insufficient levels of vitamin D. So this is a no-brainer. And it's a no-brainer, Karen, and it's so easy to test. I'm so excited to be able to even say this now. There's an at-home test we have, literally a finger prick test. Go home, finger prick test, send it in your own mail, easy breezy. I don't even know if it costs $70. Like you should have yours tested, like period. Like, because it's one of those simple things. If you know it's low, you can do something about it. Like you can really go out stronger. And otherwise you got to get like a full out blood test, which I run in all my panels anyways, but you might not want to go down to the lab or something like that. Literally there's this little packet. We can send it to you. You can come by the office, pick it up. Literally, I think it's $70 and you'll get results in a couple of days. And literally just last week, I had someone that was taking vitamin D. I don't know exactly what source they were taking, but about 5,000 IUs a day. And their levels were still only at about 30 nanograms per milliliter, which is very low. And, they were a little bit shocked. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's one of the reasons is 30 years of sunscreen inhibiting your body ability to make it, your gut health not being good. So there's so many factors that play a role, but if you don't know, there's nothing you can do. So again, at that cost, again, I'm so excited now that we have it.
Amazing. Everybody can do it at home. You can ship it everywhere.
Absolutely. And if you're at it and you want to double down, you can do the exact same thing for your omega-3 test. Like I was just talking about omega-3s for brain health. They have the same thing for your omega-3 panel now, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, so it's amazing.
Send it out. And I think same thing, $65, $70. And if you know those two things, you're talking about knowing two of the better all case mortality, like monitoring levels that there are out there. And that's your omega-3 levels and your vitamin D levels. And again, doesn't take, a $500, $600, $700, panel and multiple appointments and all that stuff. Literally just do it at home, send it in, easy breezy.
Yeah, love that. And they can just get in touch with the office to get that at the moment?
Yeah, they could just call the office. We'll send it. They'll send us some results. We'll send them right to you. If you want to discuss them, we'll do that too. But usually it's pretty straightforward what you need to do next.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. All right. Oh, next question. How many carbs per day should I be eating?
Well, I'll answer this way. So I don't know if there's an exact answer for that, but I guess it really depends on what you're looking to do. Yeah. That being said, we know some great information. There's, all of the keto and diabetes and all that stuff. Really, there's some really great people out there. One of the best doctors out there that I learned so much from is a guy named Dr. Jason Fung. I don't know him myself, but I've read and studied so much of his material. And all he did was he had tens of thousands of diabetes patients. So there is a fundamental marker, and that is 70 net grams per day. Now, Karen, this could shock a lot of people. 70 net grams a day. And the way that you come up with that, so you monitor your food, and you're like, whether you write it down or you put in an app. There's an app I love called Carb Manager. It's easy breezy. You get your total carbs, you minus your fiber, and that gives you your net grams. So for example, if you have a cup of broccoli, which I think is about like 8 net carbs, 8 grams of carbs, it's 7 grams of fiber. So 8 minus 7 is 1. Yeah. So that's 1 gram.
Yeah.
So broccoli,
go for it. Eat lots of broccoli.
Lots of broccoli and cauliflower and kale and stuff like that. Now, conversely, if you have 2 slices of bread, that's like 50.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a banana, that's probably 35. You have a sweet potato, that's probably 35, 40. So there could be some good foods that jack it up. And why is 70 such the number? 70 typically is the number where your body will not continuously raise your blood sugar levels, and you can manage blood sugar. Okay. If this question comes about for weight loss, you probably have to monitor it. If you're just starting it, 70s becomes like your practice range. And then to really get down into where you can convert into being a fat burning machine, fat adaptive, you'll probably have to get under 30, most likely around 20 grams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of leads into a question here: how to reverse 25 years of diabetes?
Yeah. I'm assuming it's type 2. Okay. We don't reverse type 1. We work with it. We still have awesome health strategies. So if you've had type 2 diabetes for 25 years, so be it. And I don't mean, I probably came off wrong. I mean, now it's just strategy.
No, it's just, you can start from now, because a lot of people, really, you're saying like, we can still do something about it, right? Like, don't give up on it. Because a lot of people have had it for 25 years and then like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have it forever. Like, well done to asking, and let's do something now, right?
Precisely. Exactly. So there's absolutely some, so when someone says I've had it for 25 years, for me, I'm just like, I don't care as long as you're willing to make some changes. So immediately, if you've had it for 25 years, if that was the question, start monitoring. And your first thing that you do your best to keep your net carbs at 70 or below. And that's not going to be an easy task. So just start there and just practice there. Don't even consider the 30 or 20 grams. Live that way for a solid 30 days and then start lowering it. But just by doing that, your body will then start to learn how to re-regulate its fuel sources. Dr. Fung's research on this was only on diabetics, and they didn't do a whole bunch of other things. They did two things: carb reduction, intermittent fasting. And took literally our country for storm. And that's, in his research, is really what kind of blew keto up. So there's a lot of really, really good information there where that stems from. So those two things: get your carbs under 70 grams and start your intermittent fasting cycles. Start at 12 hours. Do that for at least 2 weeks at a time. Get really good, easy breezy, and then bump it up to 14 hours. Stay there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So it's just no big deal for you. And then continue to add from that perspective, from that point on.
Yeah, awesome. Follow up to us talking about vitamin D. I have heard that vitamin D is really a hormone. Is that true?
It is true. Yes. So your body makes it, and that's what's unique about it. So our body literally can make this in the interaction with sun. So sun comes and hits our skin interacts with our cholesterol, and it makes vitamin D. And that vitamin D then is technically in the hormone world. So, and it's a fat soluble, so which all hormones are, which means that we can store it, which is different than vitamin like B and vitamin C. So we do that's the other reason I do like to test, Karen, quite frankly. I hear people out there taking like 50,000 IUs, and I'm like, hey, listen, if you're doing that to jumpstart or really overload, but we can also become vitamin D toxic. So yes, you can get too much vitamin D. Like vitamin C, you can't get too much of. I've never seen. You'll end up peeing it all out, or pooping it all out is really what happens. With vitamin D, though, to measure it, and yes, you're absolutely right. It is part of the hormone cascade, and your body does make it.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right. Well, we've had so many questions. Let's move on to our last question, which is, what is one action that our listeners are going to take today to move them towards their goal of becoming superhuman?
Wow, that time just flew there.
It does.
I think it is to. How am I going to put this in words? I think, practice health. Practice health. Give yourself permission so it doesn't have to be perfect, and practice it, like sleeping on your back, like taking a little vitamin D, like eating a little bit better, like getting your carbs under 70 grams, whatever it may be. But practice your health and give yourself permission to not have to be perfect with it, but enjoy the process as you go as well. And sometimes you need to give yourself a little pat on the back for where you are now from where you were. And I think we forget about that process. So tonight's thing, it's one superhuman action is to practice health.
I love it. Kim's written here that she appreciates Tuesday nights with us so very much. Thank you for doing what you do.
Well, Kim, we appreciate being here every week, and everyone else that's here. Again, thank you guys, and appreciate all the feedback you guys give us, and just motivates us to do more. So let's all of us just keep doing our thing, right? Let's just keep sharing it out and spreading love.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, guys. We're going to be back same time, same place next week for another episode of the Health Made Simple show.
Yes, indeed. And of course, we're going to continue to take deliberate action for our mind, our body, overall wellness, and y'all be awesome.